5 Eyewitness Accounts of History. Before we start, I would like you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to our channel. 5. Queen Elizabeth's Breasts. The reign of Queen Elizabeth I, 1558 to 1603, is often looked on as a golden age for England. The Virgin Queen, as she was known, never married and became a symbol of England's stand against the powers of Europe. Part of her power was in the display of wealth and regality that she presented to the world. Her clothes were so heavily jeweled that it was said they stood up on their own. In 1597, the French ambassador André Hiroltsier de Metz was granted an audience with the 65-year-old monarch, and she managed to make quite the impression. She was strangely attired in a dress of silver cloth, white and crimson, or silver gauze, as they call it. This dress had slashed sleeves lined with red taffeta, and was girt about with other little sleeves that hung down to the ground, which she was forever twisting and untwisting. A chain of rubies was hung about her, but there was one thing that most struck Metz. 4. The Boston Tea Party. The British colonies in North America, well, at least 13 of them, did not like having to pay taxes to the British government. By giving a monopoly of tea importation to the East India Company, the British ensured that the duties to be paid on it would end up in their coffers without directly taxing the Americans. This still did not sit well with the colonists, who resented even this. In 1773, 3 ships bearing tea docked in Boston, and a crowd of 7,000 came to protest. George Hughes was among the 200 who raided the ships, some all dressed as Native Americans. It was now evening, and I immediately dressed myself in the costume of an Indian, equipped with a small hatchet, which I and my associates denominated the tomahawk, with which, and a club. After having painted my face and hands with coal dust in the shop of a blacksmith, I repaired to Griffin's Wharf, where the ships lay that contained the tea. When I first appeared in the street after being thus disguised, I fell in with many who were dressed, equipped, and painted as I was. 3. Execution of a British king. To kill a king is a serious business. Many at the time thought that kings were appointed by God. One person who thought this was Charles I of England. Losing a civil war against those who supported the power of Parliament did not dampen his faith in the divine right of kings. He was put on trial and sentenced to death. An anonymous account exists of Charles being led out onto a scaffold in the middle of London. There, he delivered a short speech justifying his actions before being directed toward the block where his head was to be cut off. The king said to a bishop present, "I go from a corruptible to an incorruptible crown, where no disturbance can be, no disturbance in the world." Then, the king stretched out his neck and said some prayers. 2. Execution of a French king. The French Revolution of 1789 sparked a series of wars that reverberated through the 19th century. King Louis XVI was first taken into the custody of the revolutionaries, but when he proved unwilling to support them, he was deposed from his throne and then sentenced to death. Henry Essex Edgeworth was the Irish priest who acted as Louis's confessor through his last days and was with the king as he went to the guillotine. He recounts the final moments. As soon as the king had left the carriage, 3 guards surrounded him and would have taken off his clothes, but he repulsed them with haughtiness. He undressed himself, untied his neckcloth, opened his shirt, and arranged it himself. The guards, whom the determined countenance of the king had for a moment disconcerted, seemed to recover their audacity. 1. A Viking funeral. Ahmad ibn Fadlan was an Islamic traveler in the 10th century who visited many places and acted as a religious guide. In 921, he joined a group traveling in what is now Russia to explain Islamic law to the local people. He has left one of the only accounts of a Norse funeral written by an eyewitness. When that man whom I mentioned earlier died, they said to his slave girls, "Who will die with him?" And one of them said, "I shall." So they placed 2 slave girls in charge of her to take care of her and accompany her wherever she went, even to the point of occasionally washing her feet with their own hands. They set about attending to the dead man, preparing his clothes for him and setting right all he needed. Every day the slave girl would drink and would sing merrily and cheerfully. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen, because I'm sure you'll love them.